Today, December the 8th, lesson 10. Very fine house. Our background scripture for 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, verses 1 through 17. Printed passage is 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, verses 4 through 17. As we continue today on the journey to the birth of Christ, we're still talking about David and what he's done and his family lineage and how he was devoted to Christ. Here, his whole life, he returned the Ark of the Covenant. And ever since he did that, it's like he was a different person. He was more devoted to doing what God wanted, his whole heart. Some places you be working, you do a good job. Supervisor tell you, you're good. We'll take a day off or something to rest. David wouldn't do that. He wasn't satisfied. But as we see in this lesson, he wanted continually, every minute, every day, out of his love for God, he wanted to show God better things. Because he said he wanted to build a house. And everybody gets a job and stuff. Your first marriage, you might not have an apartment or something you rent. First thing you want to do is either get your car or get you somewhere to stay. But David was nothing about himself. It was always about Christ. And this way, is what he wanted to do to preserve his legacy. People do things, build things, like the Lincoln Memorial, Martin Luther King Monument, things that'll last for people remember by. But this was just a house. He said a house, but really like a temple for God. And that was the main thing he wanted no matter what. Just like a little child at Christmas. They say what they want this, and a lot of times they're not going to quit. They're going to bug you to death until you get it. So it's sort of like David. He wanted to keep on going and do what he wanted to do. Our first outline, we must never rest in personal provisions. 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, verses 4 through 7. And I'm coming from the regular teacher's book, Adult Christian Life. At verse 4, and it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came unto Nathan, singing, Go and tell my servant David, Thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build me an house for me to dwell in. 6, whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the child of Israel out of Egypt, even in this day, but have walked in a tent in a tabernacle. So 4 through 6, ever since he was a child, he was on the go. Jesus stayed in tents and stuff because they were looking for him. So he couldn't sit still. And I heard something earlier this week, and when we get through it, I got a question. Brother Newkirk used to give you a little quiz. I'm going to have this one little question. And let you give time to think about it. What was the first trip that Jesus ever took with his family? We never say in the Bible anything about trips or vacations. But when we get through, I want you to be able to see if you can tell me what was the first trip that Jesus took with his family. Where did they go? Now you just think about it to the end. Okay, number 7. In all the places where I have walked with all the children of Israel, spake I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, Why build ye not me an house of cedar? Now he asking, living in tents and stuff. Everybody know what a cedar is. It's a tree. Supposed to be good wood. But but he was staying in tents from place to place. He was a child going around. But his concerns weren't really of a tent.
Well, what I take away from it, Nathan is talking for God.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, that they had the ark. They would carry it around, and the ark represented red. Was it ark, Jimmy? When they were carrying the ark around?
Ark of Covenant.
The ark, the covenant, yeah. When they were carrying the ark around, it was never stationary. So, God was never stationary, because He had promised it. He had made a covenant to David and his Israelites. So Nathan is telling David, at this time, God is speaking to you.
Yeah, all this was a prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking to David about what he should do, or why he didn't do it. But see, after the Ark of Covenant was returned, for that moment, David, just like you see somebody sitting in church, all of a sudden they up jumping, shouting and stuff. David burst out as soon as the ark was returned. He started doing that from then on. And you see how some people, once they start doing something, they don't want to stop. And you know, some older people, they get out here, they're not going to stop. Sometimes people try to tell them to go sit down, they be out in the sun or whatever they're doing, but they want to keep going. But David had it in his heart. And that's the main thing that, what Nathan would tell him this, but God always looked at the heart. And nobody had a heart for Jesus like David did. And it's the events that happened in transpired right then after David successfully returned the ark, you know, it went back to Jerusalem, and David celebrated the return of the ark with spontaneous, unrestricted, unapologetic praise. So he just went to praising God. Didn't care what nobody said, what nobody did. You know, little children, you see somebody shouting in church and stuff, and little children sometimes used to laugh at them, but you know what was going on. But you get so that you just go where you want to go and do what you want to do. When you praising God, it don't make no difference what people say. Some people now get up and look to the neighbor, worried what they're going to say or what they're going to do. If they worried about what somebody could do, it's not real praise in their heart. But if you're praising God, you can't be concerned what those people say, what they do. Because your soul is going to be seeking salvation. That's it. And see other people just sitting there looking, but they're not doing anything to praise God. They're not trying to work on their soul salvation or get to heaven. But why are you going to let someone else sit there, look at you and frown and stuff, dampen your spirit, or what did you say, quench the spirit? That's a bad thing. That's just, well, not even praising him at all. And there have been plenty of times, I remember, you want to do something or say something, you start looking around. Everybody's staring at you. You go on back down in your seat. You're killing your spirit. You're killing your blessings. Any comments or questions?
Also, I think it's important. I like what you said earlier. You know, David's heart was in the right place. He wanted to build a house for God. But as we see here, the tables are going to turn. God is going to build a house for David. It's a house, not just a house of four walls, but we're talking beyond that. And that will come up in the lesson. But so David's heart was in the right place. Jesse mentioned the cedar, and I understand cedar was that's strong wood, very strong wood. And so David was living his best life, and he was concerned about the ark being in that tent. And so again, his heart was in the right place, but the timing was not right. And Nathan, of course, those verses that are missing, Nathan just jumped the gun and said, you go ahead, in other words, do what you want to do. But Nathan had not consulted God. And that's a lesson for us, that we should not get ahead of God.
Right? Because even in 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, you know, it talks about how God measures your heart. And that's what he was doing with David. He was just sitting back, chilling, looking at him, seeing what he was doing, just like some people sit back and look at what somebody else is doing. God was just checking him out, how devoted he was. But like I said, he sit back. God's time is not our time. When he got ready, then he would go and do what he had to do. What you doing right there, Jimmy?
But God had made a covenant with David. God always keeps his promise to David.
God, when he makes a promise, you don't have to worry about him or breaking it.
Yeah.
He's the only one that cannot lie. He will not lie. He will not sacrifice right for wrong.
He's a just God.
The only one you can truly depend on. But yet, he don't rush things. Everything got to come in time. If he wants something to happen, he'll make it happen. But if he's not ready, it's not going to happen.
But he also let you get yourself right
Yeah.
with him. You have to be steadfast with God. You know, you can't be wishy-washy with God. We all gonna make mistakes. But you have to look to God to correct those mistakes.
Yeah, because God gives us free reign. You know, we make our own choices. Nobody else makes it for us. And the Flip Wilson used to have a thing said, the devil made me do it. The devil don't make you do nothing. Somebody might go back and say, and I thought about it because he was on some show the other day. I saw him. And but yeah, even husband and wife. If you don't get something done around the house, I take Stephanie. If her husband don't get something done, Stephanie ain't gonna sit there right quiet and don't say nothing. You know, and sometimes the husbands do the same thing.
Well, still, she might give him a chance. Just like God give us a chance.
Yeah.
He might have something else on his mind at the time. He might have something else on his mind that pressed to him right at the time that he said, wait a minute, I'll do it later.
When Stephanie come,
That's the way God treats us.
that,
He said,
yeah. No, because Stephanie said, I said now, not later. That's, you know, right quick. So,
well,
but,
we all God's children, right?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But see, not only Stephanie now, the men do the same thing. Sometimes your wife get on you about doing this here and that, you don't do it today, tomorrow, you in trouble. You know, but those situations, still, you got a choice. You do it right then, what they say, or not. God gives us a choice. But he don't sit there and be whispering or getting on you about not doing it. But God, if you don't do right, so long, God will punish you. There's certain ways that things will happen to you that God will let it. Oh man, yeah. Sometimes it might be more than a nudge.
That's why I would say that Nathan was a prophet. And also the prophecy always brought good news, what will happen to you, and bad news, you know? So it's up to you to get it right.
And see, that's one thing that's going on between God and Nathan. You know, they were talking stuff regarding David's life is a powerful testament. You know, just shows how God's unwavering faithfulness. But he was going through Nathan to get to David. Just like in our lives, people have come in our lives to get us straight, to get us on the right track. That don't mean we don't go back and fall off. But once you've been taught a certain way, you come back to it. You remember the good things. You remember how to treat somebody. Like the first thing your parents do is teach you, respect. Yes, ma'am, no, sir. Any other comments? Our second outline, we must remember God's prosperity and protection. Verse 8, now therefore so shalt thou say unto my servant David, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheep cote, from following the sheep, to the ruler over my people, over Israel. 9, and I was with thee whithersoever thou wentest, and I have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth. You know, David had to run. There were a lot of people trying to kill him. So he had to run and went and hide. But even during that time, God was watching out for him. But you know, you out here raising sheep. It's just like we used to be in the hog pen. God took us out of that hog pen, big nice house. He took David out of the sheep, put him in a palace, ruled over the people. So no matter what you're doing or how you do it, God can take you out of this and put you into that. But if you're not careful, the wrong people, wrong things that you listen to, it's not just the devil. The devil uses people, and it can sound just as sweet as anything. Just like Samson and Goliath. He loved that woman, laid his head in her lap. She cursed her and took all his strength. She backstabbed him. So that's the same thing that's going on today.
That verse said he was a prince. David had conquered and brought the 12 tribes together. The 12 tribes was the Israelites, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were God people. Well, all of us are God people, but God had made a promise to them, a covenant through Jacob. And 12 tribes come out of Jacob lineage, right?
He was moving. There's a whole, like all them 12 tribes came from that family. But even David, what he did, like I said, he took him from the sheep. He put him in a palace. But yet, he was running, you know, for enemies. Goliath, Saul, Absalom, Jacob, Philistine, Ammonites, Moabites. Everybody was at David. So you just imagine, you wherever you at, and these weren't 2 or 3 people. These are a whole race of people. And it's just like you standing right here in Rose City. It's like you got the whole town at you. That's the kind of stuff that David had to look out for.
He even had his family out.
Yeah. It's almost like in the Wild Wild West. You walk around with 2 guns on, but yet you looking in front of you, you got to look behind you too. Because once you get a reputation, like some people today, some people have stood in the bushes and waited for them to get them. You know, some things like that have been planned against David, but God looked out for him. And no matter what we do or where we at, God is looking out for us. I mean, Purple Hearts, where they been, what they had to look out for. And I see some today that I know socialized with, sit at home. They still the same way. A lot of them didn't get over it. Loud noises, different things, and they don't sleep like normal people sometimes. We might be getting up 5 or 6 in the morning. Some of them might be up 3 or 4 o'clock. Can't sleep. Well, there's some things that in life that we have to go through. Might not be as bad as some people go through, but still, everybody has their own little problems. Just because they don't tell you don't mean they don't have them. Any other comments or questions? Our third outline, we must receive God's promise. 2 Samuel 7, chapter, verses 10 through 17. Now, receive God's promise? How can we receive God's promise?
By believing in Jesus Christ.
Believing Him and doing what He asks. If you believe, but you have to receive it. If you don't believe it and you're not doing what He tells you to do, you don't know what the promise is.
And Jesus Christ is the Word. You got to believe in the Word. They say, in the beginning was God, and the Word was with God.
And the Word was God. Just like the verse, that is the Word. But you can believe it, and you can listen to it, but are you living it? Is it in your heart, or is it just in your head? There's a big difference.
It's like night and day. Big difference.
And just like you said, like night and day, no different. That's how different that is. And people say it's not easy to live right. Like night and day, either you do or you don't. It's a harder job. You turn off and on a light switch. It ain't easy. But like you say, you can't be lukewarm. You can't stride the fence. You got to go one way or the other. You're either for them or you're against them. Verse 10. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel and will plant them. And they may dwell in the place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of the wickedness afflict them as before time. So God's getting ready to make everything straight. He's going to get rid of everything. So we're going to give them a land where they can plant them there. They won't have to get up and go no more. Now that's somewhere you get a house, you get comfortable, can't nobody put you out. You sitting there, you enjoying life. And this is what God getting ready to do for Israel. 11.
But he also did it for the first man, Adam.
Adam and Eve had it made.
Had it made. But he said, I'm going to make man in my image. But he made man to kill the soul. But then he put him in this garden of Eden, where he didn't have to kill the soul, didn't have to grow nothing. But sin came in. Man.
Somebody talking to his ear.
Yeah.
Changed everything.
Then he kicked him out there. The garden wasn't there no more. They had to go out there.
Adam had to go out and work and sweat like a dog. And then a woman had to start having children, childbirth, the pain. So either way, you got it good. You mess up, God will change things. Now, He didn't do nothing to hurt them, but He did something to teach them a lesson.
That's what come up with this lesson.
11. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, I have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies. Also the Lord telleth thee that He will make thee an house. So He's promising right then. He took away His enemies, and He gonna make him a house. And 12. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with the fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, and which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish His kingdom. So you get ready to give him children. And it's going to be His kingdom. So all this, God's already telling him what He's going to do for him. Now, people can tell you what they're going to do for you, but how many will do it? But God's telling them everything He's going to do. But further down the line, you're going to see God did everything that He said, and will continue to do it. 13, and He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of His kingdom forever. 14, and be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. And see, God's telling him, He's going to give him everything he wants. You mess up, you can get beat. Just like the parents used to. I mean, some of you get the gym, if you won't do them when you got home, you had to answer some consequences. And God's the same way. You can get right him coming out with a switch beating you, but the things that God can do for you or take away from you would hurt a whole lot more than a switch would. A whole lot more. Mm-hmm.
But, I read something when I was preparing the lesson that this is a dual prophecy or a parallel prophecy because the immediate descendant that we're talking about is actually Solomon. But we know Solomon will not live forever.
Mm-mm.
We know that. And so once Solomon is gone, then it will still be somebody from David's lineage, and that's the Messiah. That's right. Yeah, so it's a dual prophecy. It's a near prophecy and a far prophecy. That's what I read.
Yeah, he's setting things up right then and telling you down the line how it's going to be.
Immediate descendant is Solomon, but we know Solomon messed up, and he didn't live forever. We know that. Yeah, he messed up big time. And he was chastised too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other comments? 15. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. So he took, from Saul and put Saul away. So he's telling what he's already done. 16.
He asked God for wisdom. The other nation came through Saul because they knew that Saul had wisdom. Solomon came from.
Yeah, because he done told David, he done took away his enemies. Mm-hmm. So, like I say, he telling them the rest. But it's a different story when you want to do something for somebody, depends on what they've done for you. You really want to do it right. But God's telling him, he's not worried about what he's going to do for him. He's done it. But God's going to turn around and do it for him. And 16, and thine house, and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. 17, according to all these words, and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak to David. All these vision stuff came from God to David. So, to Nathan. So Nathan going back telling David what God was showing him, what's going to happen to him. Now, we have friends of people that we trust. They will come, tell you some things, they help you out. But then you got some on the other side that'll come and tell you things. They want to see you fall. Your daddy, my daddy, like, do a lot of hunting and stuff. You used to climb trees and stuff like that. But some things you go up there and do, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Wouldn't listen. Go up there, fall head first out that tree. Next time you wouldn't go up there. But see, that's some of the things that God did here and showing David. But yet, David wants to still reward him, but God's showing him for what you've done, you're going to be the one to get rewarded. And see, that's same thing with us. What we do, we believe and trust God with our whole heart. A lot of people say, I love you from the bottom of my heart. Well, you got to go to the bottom for. It's either in your heart or it's not. Some of them don't work too far up, Stephanie.
But David came from a sheep
Yep, from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
See,
He would, Solomon didn't have to worry about going out and getting mature to build this kingdom for his father. Because him and David, God and David had already worked that out.
yes, God just works out a lot. We may see it, we may not. But then sometimes it'll be after it's done happen. And we can think about, how'd that get here? Where'd this come from? So we never know what's going to happen, or how it's going to turn out. But God already knows everything, when, how, what, and where. Any other comments? Questions?
Y'all talking about our time. Sometimes we pray for things, and it's so long in coming to give up on it, and then when God is ready, He does what He's gonna do, and it comes to pass, and we may or may not even remember.
Yeah. You know, it's just like you're doing something, you be riding on the road. Seems like I've been here before. Seems like I've done this before. It may have been something that you prayed for or asked about.
Yeah, we may not remember even that.
Yeah. You just forget stuff.
God works it out.
And a lot of times he works it out and we didn't even ask. Because a lot of times we ask for something, we don't need it. Like I say, you always be careful what you ask for. You know, a lot of things that can't picture, they got a song about. They say put Jesus first, put God first. How many people live in this world, you got jobs, you got bills. Where does God fit in most people's lives? Is it before them bills, before cleaning that house, that husband, that wife? Or everything when you get up first thing in the morning, do you thank God for what you got? Or some people get up and wish never would have had it. Some people, some places in different parts of the world, wish they'd never known these people or been around them. Now you think how good some of us got it, how we socialize with family and friends, and some people don't have nothing, nobody. But in the end, just like David, God will work it out every time. Any other comments or questions?
Sometimes accepting God's no to your request. Sometimes accepting God's no to what you've asked for or you requested for is really a yes. Because if you're asking, in my little footnote it says, accepting God's no requires as great a faith as carrying out his yes. So if you're asking for something and he says no, I think you better think about that. And in the back of your mind, you're like, but I want it and I want it now. Just like right now. Okay, we're talking about Christmas and kids, they want this and they want that. And sometimes you're like, does a 3-year-old need an iPhone? No. But they want one. Do they get one? Probably not. And they're going to be mad. But in a few years, they're going to get one. But like you said, God always works out his plan for you. And sometimes we want to know his plan ahead of time so that we can work out our plan with his plan. It doesn't work that way. His plan is his plan, not ours. He's always working behind the scenes and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't even appreciate it. That's the hard part. Because if you ask God for something, oh God, I want a new car. Well, do you need a car? No. Well then no. Maybe you need something else. Maybe you need food on your table before you need that car.
There's a lot of things that when people ask God for stuff, they don't say they need this. Right. They want.
It's a want.
And even some people praying, do it for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell God when to do this or
No.
what to do.
But that's what I'm saying, sometimes the no is really a wait.
I know answer, yeah.
And then eventually it'll be a yes.
Mm.
He'll change it to fit what he wants. And it'll be a yes, eventually.
Yeah.
And you have to wait and be patient.
Yeah, it
And
take a
that's
while
not-
sometimes.
I'm not patient.
Any other comments? Question? Now, to the question I asked earlier. What was the first trip that Jesus took with his family? Where was it?
Whenever they went back to the church and Jesus went to the synagogue,
Nope.
no? He was
He was
ill then.
little. A lot of answers that was given, it said they went to Bethlehem. Nope, it wasn't. The first place they went was to Egypt. They couldn't go to Bethlehem because they went, they were going to kill the Christ child. The first place they went was to Egypt.
Because Egypt was a holy area?
Th-
Safe zone.
There was what?
Safe zone.
That's one place they wasn't looking for him. So, that's same thing coming around to Christmas, where they had what they had to do. So the first place he ever went was to Egypt. I just learned that last week. Because the first thing like you said, huh? No, I wish I could have. I wouldn't come back. I said I just learned that last week. Hey, now we know why Jane don't do what she say do. Because she don't listen.
Learned it last week.
If nothing else, well, that's all I got.